Good afternoon, welcome to Turbo Tech. If you're new here, I'm Reese of the 4-piece variety Orchid Triple XL, and it is a Wednesday, my dudes, and so it's time for the prize card. This week, I'm going through 10 of the specials on Uncle Evetech for laptops. There's a 25 on Black Friday deal, level up deals, clearance sort of pricing, and I've sifted through and picked the very best 10, and we're going to go from the cheapest to the most expensive, not necessarily in order, but hilariously, at number 1 is my number 1 favorite laptop right now. Anywho, let's get straight into it. Starting off at number 10, we've got the Lenovo Ideapad Slim 3. This thing's processor is just kind of unreal. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like you can upgrade the RAM because it's just not even an option. So 8 gig is going to be a limitation. So this really is a super powered work notebook because this 12450H has 4 P cores and 4 E cores. And so yeah, 8 core 16 thread or 8 core 12 thread, sorry, at least processor. It's going to have ridiculously good multi-threading. It's got a full HD screen, and you're even going to be able to play some basic games off of that GPU. Absolutely no problems. At number 9, we've got the Lenovo Ideapad 1. This has an ultra-low voltage version of the processor I just showed you with fewer P cores and more E cores, so a little bit more mobility focused, especially with that ultra-low voltage processor. So this will get really good battery life. You can upgrade the RAM, and it's $300 to get extra 4 gig in there. So you've got 12 gig RAM and then dual channel memory support, which is just going to be better all around. 512 gig SSD and then 1080p monitor. So all the good defaults. Then at number 8, rather a surprise entry for me with the ASUS Tuf 7535HS with a 2054 gig. It is going to be very entry level. It will still play most of the games, but with 16 gig RAM and a 512 gig SSD, it's 11.6. Like, it's kind of crazy. This is a bit of the older Tuf A15 chassis, but it's still going to be rock solid. Like, I tested this recently this last year with the 4050 6 gig, and it was the fastest of that spec that I've tested so far. At number 7, we've got an old faithful with the HP Victus, this time with the RX 6500M. This is basically a 3050 4 gig competitor. It's exactly the same kind of setup with the 4 gig GDDR6. So you are going to be limited on 1080p gaming to keeping those textures at like a medium sort of setting. It's not going to have the texture budget. To get over that, you need 6 gig VRAM for 1080p, but it's got a solid processor. It's got 12 gig RAM. Once again, do the little bit of an upgrade. You can do a 16 gig RAM with a 256 gig SSD, but 256 gig is just tiny these days. So rather, I would suggest the spec, and then so that's where it filters through at this price. Rounding out the top off at number 6, it's one of my favorites to suggest in the Lenovo LOQ. It's coming through with the HX now, so the higher clocked version of the 12450H. Same as before, like I said in the very first one, but 16 gig RAM, 512 gig SSD for $13,000 with that 3050, then 6 gig variant. So now with the 6 gig variant, you've got enough VRAM that you can put everything on high texture budget, and then it's a 1080p 144 Hz IPS monitor. You can see why I suggest these. They're flipping amazing bang for buck. Breaking into the top off at number 5, this is where things start to get a little bit serious sauce. 12700H on this sucker. 14 cores, 20 threads, 24 gigs of RAM, and a 1 TB drive for 15K, so under 16K. It's a 4 gig GDDR6 on this one on the 3050, so same problem when you're gaming, but if you wanted a bit more workstation with a bit more side gaming, then this is the one for you. At number 4, it's the HP Victus. I literally just finished the review on with the 13420H, and with the 4050 6 gig, this is going to do anything AAA pretty much, especially with frame generation being added into the mix. It's going to be more than capable. There is a full review on this literal exact unit, so we'll pop that out for you. At number 3, it's the most mobile 4060. By that, I mean this is the lower wattage 4060, and so it's really been, this whole notebook's ethos is about extreme mobility, and then it can game as well. And it's going to get you about 80 to say 90% of the full fat 4060s, but this is obviously a lot lower in price than the others, which is a big plus. And they didn't hold back on the processor. The processor is full fat. It goes it's a super quick 10 core 16 thread variant. It comes with 16 gig RAM and a 512 gig SSD, so you don't really need to tinker. This price and spec is ready to go. In the run-up spot, it's another Lenovo LOQ. This is a full-fat 4060. You're obviously paying 3,000 Rand premium to get there, and I really would suggest you get this with 32 gig RAM just to make that processor and that 4060 really get the best of what it has to offer. This doesn't have great battery life. It's got a very small battery. The MSI that I showed you before will be way better on battery life, and then secondary gaming. This is primary gaming focus, and the secondary is the mobility factor. And finally, in the number one spot, in my heart as well, it's the Lenovo Legion Pro 5. This for me is the perfect notebook. It's the level that I would consider, you know, after this, you might want to look at a desktop, in all honesty, but at the price versus performance here, this thing's kind of a no-brainer in a lot of senses. 14700 HX now with a 5.5 gigahertz, as we've seen with the MSI that I just reviewed. That processor is an animal at 20 cores and 28 threads. Spec it with the 32 gig RAM. It's not a huge price increase to go from 16 to 32, and then you're going to get all of the capacity from this. I would even stream off of this, to tell you the honest truth, because it's got a 4078 gig. This thing will be able to stream especially esports stuff on the go, absolutely no problems. Its native res of 2560 by 1600 will be tough for the 8 gig VRAM on more AAA titles, but with the LSS being factored in on that much resolution, you're not going to get any visual degradation, and then all of the supporting components is fantastic. But the reason that I kind of love this laptop, maybe we can get a shot here of the back. I don't know if there is one. There it is. You can see all of the main ports come out the back over there, your HDMI, your Type-C, and your LAN, so that you can output this to a dock, and everything will just be seamless. The build quality of these is just kind of unreal. Basically, what you're looking at here, honestly, is an IBM ThinkPad new version, is the TLDR for this. Lenovo very smartly bought that whole department of ThinkPad from IBM, and now this is what you get. Basically perfection. Anywho, those are my top 10 from the 25 notebooks available on Uncle Evetech. If you have enjoyed this, please hit us up with a like and subscribe. Later on in this week, I'm going to be finishing the dual mode Alienware. I actually have it right in front of me right now. The 4K and 1080p, 4K 180Hz, 1080p, 360Hz monitor, which is way more interesting and weird than I thought it was going to be. It's kind of set apart. It's one of the most unique products that I've ever tested. And then on Friday, I'm going to be releasing our 9800 X3D review, which is going to be focused on 1440p gaming. Anywho, that's all I have for you. If you have enjoyed it, please hit us up with that like and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.